Hey, so back again. Fun technical difficulties out here in the middle of nowhere. So we were talking about Samhain, how we could use Samhain as a opportunity to teach children about the transition from life to death. We can also teach children about seasonal changes and the cycles of nature, which is, of course, how we get closer to nature. So it's a children circle with children is an opportunity for them to learn quite a bit, but it is also an opportunity for them to connect with Mother Earth, to feel that energy and understand that nature is a living thing, that Earth is a living thing, and that it um, interacts with us on a daily basis, and that the seasonal changes really do have to do with us. That life is not just a lot of video games and indoor time. There's a lot going on outside with the animals and the plants and things like that, and it's a chance to get them out there and connect with those forces of nature that they probably wouldn't connect with otherwise. I think that one of the best ways to do with children is to include things like crafting with them, having them do some beading, for example, with natural beads, or and talk about, trees and why it's important to preserve them, and what they are and that sort of thing. And also, I think it's, things that are making candles, for example, or making wreaths, or anything that has to do with the season. You could have them help you make corn dollies, or wheat weaving if they're old enough to have the manual dexterity to do that. I think participation in ritual creates a sort of life, like a body memory of that experience, and it makes it possible for them to connect directly with what the energy of each of the seasonal changes is. And also you can do moon rituals with them too. I think it's important for children to also learn to observe the changes in the moon, and you can talk about what they mean energetically, but you could also use it as an opportunity to talk to them about the science too, at the same time. I don't think that it necessarily takes away from the amazingness of what the moon phases are. And I mean, I understand what the science is of moon phases, and I still find the moon to be very magical, and I use its energy for all kinds of magic. So, and getting children to learn, children love to sing, and so teaching them songs. There's a ton of chants about the moon. There's lots of songs that go with each of the Sabbats. There are books that teach pagan songs for children. It helps them learn how to read music. It helps them learn how to sing. It also helps them to joyfully connect with the energy of the time of year that they're celebrating. Another thing that you could do too is you could incorporate it with community service. For example, one of the things that we used to do at Yule every year with Lily when she was little is for us, Yule is about giving to those who are less fortunate, and using that time to take care of your family, just like back in the old days when, the people that lived on the land had paid their part of their farm produce to the laird or whatever, and then at Christmas time they would come and feast at the castle, and so the landowner would give back to those who farm the land. It's kind of that sort of thing is giving back to your community. And so we would go down. One of the places that had like an opportunity to do that was there was a little Christmas tree that had children's names on it at our local Starbucks, and it had the ages and their names, and a few things that they would like. And we would go down there, and you take the tags off the tree, and then you take them to wherever, and you buy them gifts and wrap them up, and then put the tags on the gifts, and the children get gifts. And it was for poor families who couldn't afford to buy gifts for their children. And so when Lily was little, that was one of the things that we would do as part of our Yule celebrations, is giving back to our community. And so she would choose the names off the tree, and then we would all go and pick out things that we thought would be lovely for them to have. And then we would wrap them up and take them back so that they could be given to the children. And so Christmas and Yule and all those celebrations around the winter solstice are all family celebrations. They're all about community. Back in the old days, we didn't have lots of ways to store food, and sometimes we didn't have the crops we needed to make it through winter, and so sharing was how people survived that time. And so we can also use that as an opportunity to teach people, about how important it is for a community to share with each other so that they can, connect with the importance of, family and community, and that, when you take care of the community, it takes care of you, kind of thing. So there's a lot of ways to engage children. I think it's really important to really assess what's a good age for your children. There are some covens and groups that don't allow children under the age of 12 because children under the age of 12 can be disruptive. And so it really depends on the community that you're in. I know that there was an argument for a long time at one of the communities that I went to at Onabin about whether or not children should be present or welcome at Beltane. Well, Beltane at Onabin is pretty spicy, and there's a lot of nudity and things like that. And so, I feel like it really depends on the children, but also at the same time, because of the way the laws are, you could be putting someone in danger, by bringing your children, like a child being exposed. Here in Washington, if a child is exposed to, a naked body that isn't their family, then the state can actually press charges. And so you have to be pretty careful about that sort of thing, because you just never know what, kind of repercussions there might be. And what kind of ritual it is. If it's a very tame sort of family Beltane ritual, then fine. Yes, definitely bring the kids. Have everyone dance around the maypole. That's what we do. But not every community is able to accommodate that, and some communities take the energy of Beltane very, very far into the, the sexual rituals, such as the Great Rite, which is great, but certainly not the kind of place or ritual that a child really belongs in. And so, I think you really have to think about, if you're a beginner in paganism and you don't really know what the Sabbats mean very well, or you don't really know what is being expressed or worked through in that ritual, then it's probably best to leave the children home until you do. If you trust your children and you trust yourself and you know that your children can handle it and you know what's coming in a ritual, then certainly I think it's a good idea to include them. But I think it really depends on each individual situation. And I think that it's very, very important to include children in personal rituals that you do with your family. If your family celebrates a Sabbat, then always include the children. If mom and dad do celebrations, then bring the children into it and do, things that are hands-on for the children. Again, we can't expect a religion to survive into the next generation if the next generation never is exposed to it. Religion is an enculturative process. It's something that we learn from experience. And so if we don't have the experiences, then we don't learn it, and we don't, have a foundation of belief or reverence or any of those kind of things if we don't ever get that exposure. And so I do encourage children in rituals. I also encourage responsibility of parents in rituals with children. I encourage engaging children in hands-on activities. I encourage children's participation in family rituals. I don't encourage children's presence in every single ritual. I think that's idealistic and unrealistic. But I think that it's a personal choice for each family to decide what is appropriate at what age. And I think that you also have to be mindful of what the laws are in your state, and some states are very, very strict about nudity and children's exposure to it. And so if you don't want people to go to jail, then you have to be mindful of that. But otherwise, I think, it's an individual choice for each family, whether or not children are introduced into ritual or not. So with that said, I'd like to see if anybody has any questions, because we just have like 3 minutes, and, check in and see if anyone has any comments or participation, if there's anything you want to say about including children in ritual or any experiences you'd like to share. Certainly that would be a wonderful thing. And then also, you'll be able to find this also in other videos, all the previous videos too, on Patreon. It's just www.patreon.com/CroneWitch with a Y. And you can access all the videos that are free on there. And then if you join at the $5 level, then there's videos that you get exclusively, and then if you join at the $15 level, then of course there are videos that are included with each level that are, build on each other more and more and more. So consider taking a look at that, and I hope you're enjoying the Ask a Witch videos. I'm going to check one more time, see if anybody has any questions about ritual with children. If there's anybody who has any questions about it, please feel free to type them. And if we're already off the air by then just go ahead and put them in the comments, and I'll be happy to address those questions after the broadcast is finished. So, well, thank you very much for attending. I'm going to go, and I hope that this was helpful. And sorry about the internet glitch. It's just one of those things. Hopefully our next home will not have such a problem. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you.